Revelation 18. If you were hoping for a follow-up on the woman from the previous chapter, well, you're about to get it, because a whole bunch of men will be celebrating her demise, and then running away because God is very angry at everything. Remember again that Babylon is referenced as both a single evil woman and a single giant evil empire. We've destroyed religious Babylon. Now we have to eliminate political Babylon. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven. He had great authority, and the earth was illuminated by his splendor. With a mighty voice he shouted, "Fallen! Fallen is Babylon the Great! She has become a dwelling for demons, and a haunt for every impure spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable animal. For all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her, and the merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries." The earth had to be illuminated by his splendor because, if you recall, another angel with a bowl plunged the planet into darkness a couple of chapters ago. I'm not surprised this angel is gloating over the woman's murder, but it is really wild to blame her for becoming a demon home, and a bird's nest, and a magnet for unclean animals, when she's literally now a corpse. They didn't respect her in life, and they don't respect her in death. And that, my friends, is how you know we are dealing with Christianity, because their treatment of independent women hasn't changed one bit. But even if we are talking about a large city, this is messed up. It's the way conservatives talk about large urban areas. They're all hellholes all the time. Just demons and drugs and dead animals and debauchery. Meanwhile, those of us who live in or near large urban areas are like, what are you talking about? I'm going to the beach and then taking a walk in my neighborhood. Then I heard another voice from heaven say, "Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not receive any of her plagues. For her sins are piled up to heaven, and God has remembered her crimes. Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double for what she has done. Pour her a double portion from her own cup. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. In her heart she boasts, 'I sit enthroned as queen. I am not a widow. I will never mourn.' Therefore in one day her plagues will overtake her, death, mourning, and famine. She will be consumed by fire, for mighty is the Lord God who judges her." Listen, if all of you are still in her, I agree, get out. And also, ew, stop that. She's dead. Notice that even in death, we are still blaming her. We are still calling her a sinner. But the men are just told, don't. No punishment for them, just a warning. Paying her back double for what she's done is truly the opposite of turning the other cheek. Don't be doubly generous to her, be twice as cruel. Give her torment and grief. It's everything Jesus never talked about. She's dead, but they still want her to burn. And if Babylon is a city, then this is typical Republican speak for you. Move out. Go to the countryside. The city is full of sin. Nothing bad ever happens in rural areas, if you look and think exactly like us. Now, let us mourn the final destruction of Babylon and everyone who was part of it. Or, in Bible speak, everyone who was in her. When the kings of the earth who committed adultery with her and shared her luxury see the smoke of her burning, they will weep and mourn over her. Terrified at her torment, they will stand far off and cry, "Woe, woe to you, great city, you mighty city of Babylon! In 1 hour your doom has come." The male adulterers will weep and mourn once they see their favorite sex corpse up in flames? Will they change their wicked ways once they see what God has done to her? No chance. The kings will just find another female city to absorb God's wrath. And that's the thing about cities, too. If you think one of them is a bad place, a lot of the people who live there are not about to pack up and move to the middle of nowhere. They'll just go to a different big city because there are so many benefits to that. So the kings are very sad. But what about the businessmen? The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her because no one buys their cargoes anymore. Cargoes of gold, silver, precious stones, and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, and scarlet cloth, every sort of citron wood, and articles of every kind made of ivory, costly wood, bronze, iron, and marble, cargoes of cinnamon and spice, of incense, myrrh, and frankincense, of wine and olive oils, of fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and carriages, and human beings sold as slaves. Why are they blaming the woman for their inability to sell goods? She had nothing to do with that. They're just blaming her for anything now. I wanted to sell these humans, but you had to go and die, and now it's harder for me to do a slavery. How could you? Look, if everyone in your community moves out, maybe you should think twice about hoarding all the wealth and jacking up rent prices. All these merchants are complaining about how no one's buying their shit, but I didn't see anything about them lowering prices or improving the social safety net. And just look at what they were selling. Fine linen, precious stones, costly wood, marble, purple. Those are luxury items. Sorry you can't sell your Gucci handbags anymore. Maybe work on selling things people want and can afford. Nope. They are just furious. No one's buying their slaves anymore. They will say, the fruit you longed for is gone from you. All your luxury and splendor have vanished, never to be recovered. The merchants who sold these things and gained their wealth from her will stand far off, terrified at her torment. They will weep and mourn and cry out, "Woe, woe to you, great city, dressed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. In 1 hour, such great wealth has been brought to ruin. Every sea captain and all who travel by ship, the sailors, and all who earn their living from the sea will stand far off. When they see the smoke of her burning, they will exclaim, 'Was there ever a city like this great city?' They will throw dust on their heads, and with weeping and mourning cry out, 'Woe, woe to you, great city, where all who had ships on the sea became rich through her wealth. In 1 hour she has been brought to ruin. Rejoice over her, you heavens. Rejoice, you people of God. Rejoice, apostles and prophets, for God has judged her with the judgment she imposed on you.' If your wealth was dependent on her, then stop whining when your free ride comes to an end. Why don't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, men? Why are we fixated on the idea that a great woman or a great city was brought down so quickly? That happens all the time when you neglect to build a strong foundation. They're really just shocked that their behavior led to consequences. What they needed was infrastructure weak. They're also acting like Babylon was amazing when she was alive, but we remember how they treated her back then. So much gaslighting here. The second she's gone, they pretend they were good to her. They never paid her for the wealth she helped them accumulate. They never gave back to the community. Ah well, time for this place to die. Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a large millstone and threw it into the sea, and said, "With such violence, the great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. The music of harpists and musicians, pipers and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. No worker of any trade will ever be found in you again. The sound of a millstone will never be heard in you again. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The voice of bridegroom and bride will never be heard in you again. Your merchants were the world's important people. By your magic spell, all the nations were led astray. In her was found the blood of prophets and of God's holy people, of all who have been slaughtered on the earth. Honestly, if we are done with the harpists and trumpeters, I'm on board with destroying Babylon. Okay, I'll admit it. I would totally visit this place on vacation. It seems decent. All the cool people seem to be there. Are we finally done with this strained metaphor? Because treating a pagan city as if it were a literal whore really doesn't age well. Not that the rest of the Bible has withstood the test of time either. How much of this book makes you think, oh God, these people seriously believe this shit? It's gotta be more than half. In any case, the world has been thoroughly destroyed. There's nothing left. Even if you survive, there's nothing you can do anymore. So it's time for the renewal.